Welcome to The Mix, a fusion dance podcast where we dive into the world of blending dances and all that comes with it. We're talking about everything from the highs of nailing that perfect combo to the lows, emotional, and mental challenges and more. And if you're new to the dance scene, don't worry, we've got you covered with practical tips to help get you started, feel comfortable, and most importantly, have fun. So come on in. We can't wait to dance with you. Hi again.
Hi.
Um, the previous episode, we talked about the mental aspect, which I think was really helpful for people listening in on kind of like a mental journey about dancing and being able to kind of give and receive feedback, you know? Today, we want to talk more about, I would say, like the physical aspect of dancing, of improving, I guess, or getting better, but more so
Yeah.
of like, what do you do when you feel like you've hit your peaks or you've hit a plateau and you're trying to find your rhythm or kind of like that journey, I guess. So, for example, because with partner dancing, you're co-creating with someone else, right? And this person you might know as a friend or a person, a complete stranger. So I'm gonna open up with like when you start dancing with someone, how do you, Kaylin, personally handle mistakes or any missteps like in your routine or hiccups? We definitely all had those moments where it's like, whoops.
Yeah. I like to keep apologies just like right here at the hip, because you never know when you're gonna need them. It's happened. So I mean, like, look, like we make mistakes. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. And trying to avoid mistakes is just like it's like walking on eggshells. It's not fun. It's not fun. So I like just being willing to apologize can help. Actually, you know what? I remember seeing this dude who was like super super good. I've probably said this before, but dude was like literally the person I learned West Coast swing from, right? And I saw him do like this real complex move, and he like wiped out. Like he literally fell, and then he laughed and he got up and he did it again, and then he kept doing it until he got it, and then he got it. And it was a moment that like has stuck with me forever, where I was like, if someone that good could make mistakes and laugh it off, why can't I? You know?
Mm. Yeah,
So yeah.
I remember someone telling me, a teacher actually saying most of when I dance with someone is actually recovery. And I remember thinking, what? It's like, yeah, when you see me compete in all those videos that you see on Instagram or YouTube, it's like, yeah, I'm most of the time we are recovering, you know. Um, and that made me think, look at things differently. And
Yeah.
sometimes I forget though that we're making things on the fly. Like literally
Yeah.
everything is improv. So, which is so cool. And
Mhm.
so, but from someone's eye that isn't a judge or something, it looks like, oh, they have these patterns down and it looks really good. But we sometimes we can't see it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think like knowing that, I think it's having that expectation of like, oh, they're definitely gonna be oopsies or mistakes or little blunders. And I think when that rare time, a couple, the rare chance where you have like what feels like a perfect dance, that's when you can be like, oh my gosh, that was a good one. It's gonna be
Yeah.
like in my memory forever. And you want to chase after that because it's like it's a high, right? You're like,
Yeah.
that was perfect. That was like a score 10 out of 10. I want to repeat that, but then it can become unhealthy when I've been there before where you just want to keep chasing it and you don't reach it over and over again. So you get disappointed, right? So I think it's now, I would say I manage my expectations to be like, okay, if it's normal to have all these like blunders and stuff like that, but it's great if we don't. That's cool then. What would you say is what was like some of the first plateaus that you've hit?
Oh, yeah. I remember actually funny. So like because I started in salsa and bachata, that was like the first place I had my plateau, and I had my first plateau in salsa. Like I remember feeling like I was just not good at it, which is weird because up until that point, I felt like I was like, wow, yeah, I'm doing it, I'm learning, I'm so good. But I needed to go to I actually went to a congress, and it was like it took like several hours of dancing for me to have that first breakthrough. I was, and mind you, the like the plateau felt like it was there for months. It might have been like 3 or 4 months where I just felt like I was not growing as a dancer. I was trying to learn new stuff. I was trying to do new stuff, but like nothing happened. Like nothing worked. And then finally, when I went to this congress, it kind of freed me up. And I think it freed me up because I was realizing that like my motives were kind of off. Like I was trying to dance for other people and not for myself. And I remember kind of getting to a point where I was frustrated. I was just like, yo, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna go dance. I'm gonna have fun. And then it was like, oh yeah. I got back in touch with like the core of dance and what it was for me. And then I forgot and then repeated the cycle again. Like in a couple months. I was like, all right, and now we're back. Because it was like now that I've reached this next level, I was like, cool. I'm learning, and then I hit the wall again. And I'm just like, I hate this. This is awful. This is terrible. I'm not getting better. So yeah, that was that for a while. Oh no, but I feel like I needed to just kind of get outside of myself a little bit. And I think looking back on it now, I was over obsessing and I needed to take a little bit of space from it where I wasn't taking it so serious. Which I still struggle with sometimes, but I think I have a better relationship with the dance now than I did when I started, where it doesn't happen as often. Like I feel like I'm still growing. I feel like I'm still progressing as a dancer, but I also am kind of cycling through. I'm like, okay, how am I improving in my creativity? And then what am I doing to work on that? And then how am I improving in my technique? And what am I doing to work on that? And like, am I recording myself dance? Am I practicing in my free time? Like, am I practicing footwork? You know, am I listening to different music and picking out different things? Like, it's like you don't got to spend 20 hours a week doing all this stuff, but like if you got like an extra 5 or 10 minutes and you know you're reading a book or whatever, you can tap, right? Like you while you're driving, you can one like while the song is playing, you're at 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 2, like you can, you know what I mean? You can do little things like that. So that helps.
Yeah, I think a thought that just came to me just now
Yeah.
is
I sound like such a nerd talking about this stuff. Oh my gosh. Like in a good way, where I'm like, I might be obsessed with dance. I can see why other people are like, Caitlin, you might be obsessed. I'm like, yeah, I think I might be.
because there's so
Anyways,
many
go
aspects
ahead.
to it. There's so many aspects of dance you can talk about, right?
There's so
Uh,
much. Ah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the pain when you talk to someone they haven't like they're not dancing. You're like, oh, right. I
And their eyes like glaze over. You're just like,
yeah.
it's fun. You just got to keep it super short.
Yeah. Yep. Um, I think the thought that just came to me when you were talking about that was like really kind of like taking a break. Like when you hit a plateau, sometimes it can get to that point of like another way of burning out in a way, because it's kind of like if you're in a let's say relationship. I'm just going to use this. It might not be the example, but you know, and your things are getting heated and everything like that, but you want to keep addressing the issue, and sometimes you just need to step back and take a little break to kind of clear your head and kind of see things in a more in a different perspective,
Yeah.
and then come back at it. And then you're like, okay, I was approaching it this way. I had a little breather, and
Mhm,
I can kind of see things in a big picture way now instead of
mhm,
like in a narrow filtered way.
mhm.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like a weird, frustrating like journey of you know when you hit that plateau because you're just like it's so the signs that sometimes aren't obvious, you know, and as people that want to become better, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, because the curiosity is like that's part of it. I mean, especially when it comes to growth and progression, curiosity is what leads you to pull on different strings and to try different approaches. It's what kind of nudges you in the direction of something new. Where if you feel like you figured it all out, you know, if you're like, oh, I figured it out, I am a master, you know what I mean? Like if you have that approach and that attitude, you're less inclined to go, I mean, why would you try something new when you figured it out? You know, why would you explore something different when you think you've already reached the top?
Yeah.
Not that you can't be confident in your ability or that you can't, you know that you've done a lot or put a lot of work in, but I find it interesting that the most growth oriented people and the most I think the people that I look to that I would say are that are an inspiration. I'd say they are also the most curious and they're constantly like, oh, what if I did this, what if I tried this, what if they experiment, they experiment again and again. So yeah, curiosity and growth are like they're besties.
Oh, that's a good way. They're besties.
Mhm.
Yes. How do you dance differently with, let's say, someone that maybe doesn't have as much like follow vocab, or you know,
Mhm.
they're not maybe at the same level you're at right now?
I try to keep it simple and I try to figure out where they are. Like, I think everyone has, oh, actually, real life example. I won't say any names, but there are some people I've danced with recently who I'm like, they are super, super like you can tell when they learn a couple of like little things, they're gonna be like phenomenal. And they have the creativity part down, they have the personality, like they're adding their style to it. It's just they don't know what I'm asking for when I move my hand this way or when I do this thing or that thing. And it's like, oh, I think with people, especially with people like that, I have to be mindful that because they're doing the grooving so well, or they're doing the musicality so well, they're doing whatever so well that keeping it simple allows them to play in that range and kind of keeping things what I technically basic, right? Allows them to really explore, and then we can kind of go just a little bit outside of those, like outside of those lines where it's a little bit stretching, right? A little bit stretching, but like we're still playing in the fundamentals. We're still playing in the basics, you know. I yeah. So I try to stay conscious of that. It's not always what happens because sometimes you hear some of the music, you're like, I want to do this right here, right now, and that yeah, that's an area that I still have to kind of grow in. But yeah, no, I feel like I try to match where a person is and then progressively stretch a little bit. Yeah, so for you, especially as someone who has this ever-growing vocabulary of like moves and ideas and just like things you want to play with, do you ever feel like when you're dancing with someone who's like newer, do you ever feel like there are moments where you're just like, I want to do this and you're not giving this to me, where you kind of like, I don't want to say take the rein, so to speak, but like where you're back leading, do you like, does that happen?
Um, I think what it's so different as a follow, I guess for me. I think when for example, we're friends. So the ones I dance with often, then I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm just gonna do my own thing because I
Hmm.
feel sometimes more comfortable hijacking or whatever you want to call it, right?
Hmm.
Doing
Yeah.
my extra styling or that kind of stuff on the side. But if it's someone's new, most likely I haven't danced with them often. I like within the first like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you can feel their skill level. And
Hmm.
so at that point, I think for them, it's more of making sure they are having, I'd say, like a good dance experience, a positive dance experience, because I try to think about where they're at. And they're probably right now, I don't know how to describe it, but I can feel when someone's not confident when they dance.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
feel it in them. I don't know if it's like the connection or you say their energy, their facial expressions, or like, like, am I doing this right? And so when I dance with those people, I try to really at this point, just encourage them that like what they're doing is
Hmm.
fine, really at that point.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I don't go into them thinking like, all right, this guy's gonna lift me and twirl me and all that kind of stuff and do like 20 million spins or, like a duck, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
and um I think it's more so of seeing where I think the only time where maybe I'll take over is if there's like a part of the song where you just want to style and do your own thing. Maybe
Hmm.
I'll break away maybe for a few seconds and do something and then come back at them or maybe do something silly or whatever. I think it's more so of letting them practice dancing on me. That's kind of like how
Ooh.
I see it. Like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm someone you can practice your moves on me right now. If we mess up, totally fine. I'm gonna be like,
Hmm.
whoopsies, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it. So I think if I have that feeling from them, I'll approach it that way because I know they're trying to figure it out. Like, I tried leading you, like, and I was like, this is too hard. I quit. After 5 seconds, I was like, this is too hard. This is too much brain power, you know? Um, and so yeah, I kind of approach it, especially in the fusion dance
Yeah.
scene. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
different if
That's
I'm
good.
in a specialist dance scene. So it's like if it's a
Hmm.
certain style, like if I'm trying to do dance social West Coast swing or something, or like salsa, then I'll be like, okay, they probably could just use more classes and whatnot. Yeah, I think it's different when it's fusion versus when it's a specialist, right?
Hmm.
Because there's some people, let's say if I'm dancing swing with, and they're not confident or they kind of are grooving but really offbeat, they're not triple stepping or anchoring, then I know they don't have their basics down yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I actually there's a gentleman that I was dancing with, and I realized he was not being a pure Westie, let's just put it that way. And I was like, you know what? I kind of flipped my mind. I think this happened like before the old train was like, you're not. doing it right, like in my head. But now I flipped it to be like, all right, I'm gonna fusion with you. Like you won't know it, but I'm gonna fusion with you and we're just gonna have a good time.
Ah,
And
yeah,
because this is on
yeah,
a
yeah,
social dance floor,
yeah.
right? Like even when I was in Colombia, there's this Polish guy and he wanted to salsa dance with me. Old Trang, before I even knew what fusion was, would have been like, "Ugh, you're not salsaing. Like, what is this?" New Trang is more of like, cool, we're gonna fusion this. We're gonna salsa,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna like half-ass the salsa and that's
Very
fine.
like yes and like we're gonna make
Yeah.
do with what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
realized, yeah,
yeah.
fusion makes that pressure, like lighten up the pressure of being like, this isn't right.
Mhm,
So yeah, I guess it depends on different dance scenes. But in fusion, I'm kind of like, no, you're keep it up, like keep doing what you're doing. Um, so yeah, that's how I approach it as I think as a
mhm.
follower. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's very different when I dance with friends, the people
Hmm.
I or not friends, but like people I've known for a while. And so I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh hey, I'm gonna I think someone I told you this before where I'll put more power into a move and you can feel it through my hands to
Yeah.
give a hint to be like, hey, this is like the
I want to
upbeat part
go
of the song.
for it. I want to
Go
like,
for it. And some
yeah.
people they'll I can tell they feel it and they'll go for it. And I think it depends on like if they want to go for it creatively,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
some people that are just like they'll just keep at the same pace. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, they either one didn't get the hint or
Hmm.
two, they they artistically or creatively maybe just want to cruise
Go in a different direction or
yeah, or
something.
yeah, or
Yeah.
cruise at this part of the song. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. You know.
Mm. Do you feel like you can like when especially in those moments where you're like adding more pressure, adding more power, do you feel like most people are receptive to it? And do you feel like people are more receptive in fusion versus in other dances? Because that's my guess, but I also want to like, you know?
Oh, I only do that in fusion because in other dances,
Oh,
because in other
interesting.
dances, there's like a certain uh I feel like
Like a
way.
standard or
Yeah, you're
rule or
supposed to a
something.
standard connection or a standard
Mm,
like you don't want to put too much power here unless it's like a move you need to for like maybe one-footed spin maybe, but there's it's kind of like it's more methodical, like more like this is how you do it. This is how you know, for this move and that move.
yeah.
Whereas in fusion, it's more of like, okay, let's keep up the pace here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't hijack as much or like break off in those like pure standards of dances
Mhm.
unless a lead tells me to.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, a lead might be like putting in swing, they might put their arm up and they're like, "Okay, here you go. Go ahead, do your thing." And I'll be like,
Mm,
"Okay, got it," you know?
yeah.
Or something in like Latin, they might give me space or they might break away from me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I'll be
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the part where I do like a salsa shine or something like that. Okay, got
Hmm.
it, got it. So
Hmm.
I kind of like wait. I'm more passive, I feel like, in those dances. Whereas in fusion,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's see. I feel like I have more of
Hmm.
a voice in fusion.
Yeah. Like there's more agency. Like you as a follow can like put your 2 cents in.
Yeah. So I
Or
you said
your 50
when you
cents. It's
said
not two
agency,
cents.
I heard Asian C, and I was like, what? What's an
You
Asian
you about you
C?
about to get me all the way canceled. That's crazy. Hold on.
Continue.
Agent. See. Oh no. Oh, it's interesting. I feel like the opposite side of the same coin is like overleading as a lead. And I think that's a tendency of mine. Although I don't do it in terms of pressure.
What's
I'll
overlating?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think overleading, the way that I would describe overleading is trying to compensate for a person's maybe, and I don't say this is like a pride thing or anything, but it's like trying to compensate for a person's maybe their lack of skill in a particular area by trying to do like it's almost like you're dancing for two people rather than letting the person dance where they are, you know? Um, it's Yeah, it's overworking, really. Like that's really what it is. And like I didn't realize that I did it until there was a night I was just like I was kind of like at like a 6, we'll say. In terms of energy, I was like at a 6. I wasn't normally when I'm there, I'm at least at an 8, right? But I was like at a 6, which is pretty low for me. And
That is.
I was like, you know what? I'm staying here. I might go to a 7, right? And I might be able to push it to a 7, but I'm staying here. And there was a person who I absolutely love dancing with, and that shifted. I was able to dance at a 9, but only with like this person and like two other people. And it's because we were at the same like we were not just at this like in terms of skill level, right, but also in terms of energy and excitement and all that kind of stuff. Like we just matched. Like it was just everything was just kind of there, and we had a conversation about that. And she actually brought it up. She was like, "Yeah, like." that sounds to me like you're essentially trying to like compensate for another person rather than kind of like letting them dance where they are. And I think it goes into this idea of like trying to make every dance a 10, where it's like it may not be a 10 and that's okay. Like you can, this is not to say that, that you can't have a great dance with people, but I think it's kind of like the conceptual idea of leading really heavy. You know what I'm saying? I'll make that make sense in a second if it doesn't. But like you can lead really heavy because you're trying to get an idea across and you want like you're like, oh, you don't know this move, so I'm going to lead it really heavy. I'm going to like rip your arm out of your socket so that you get it, which is like essentially I'm screaming at you, right? And like that's not comfortable for me. I don't like leading like that. Some people prefer to be like they want someone to dance with them like that. That's just not me. I'm like I don't really I can raise it up a little bit, but if I'm saying something loud, it's because I'm saying, whoa, safety, there's somebody around you, right? Like if I'm using a lot of tension, it's because it's either I'm gonna go for like a lift or something like that, something dramatic, or because it's a safety issue. Other than that, I try to be a pretty like level, calm lead. And with overleading, although it's not necessarily a tension thing, it's kind of a volume thing. It's like I'm working twice as hard to do everything because I know, oh, you may not know this, so I'm going to add something here. And then I end up dancing almost like I'm performing. And then I feel like I'm not getting, like, it's not back and forth. It feels like it's me trying to like make this person walk away with such an amazing experience where they're like, oh my gosh, that was so good. And I'm like, it was okay, but I'm exhausted because I've been doing this the entire night, and and I think after that I was like, oh yeah, I do that. I need to chill out a little bit, like enjoy the dance, let people, whatever level they are, let them dance at that level rather than trying to jump them from like a 5 to like a 10, right? It's like maybe we can go from a 5 to a 6 or maybe a 5 to a 7 where we're like kind of pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, but like I don't need to do the absolute most. You know what I'm saying? I like what you said where you were like, when it comes to like if you're dancing with someone and maybe it's not pure this, right? Like it's not pure salsa or pure West Coast. You're like, oh, well, this is fusion. And you can treat it like that where you're like, I can relax into this and not judge. I think for me, it's kind of that, but on the other flip, where it's like, oh, you know what? We can keep it, we can have fun with the basics. We can have fun, with the basic crossbody lead and basic sugar push and do slight variations of those, but like, yeah, we don't gotta do all this extra stuff and keep it calm.
Yeah, speaking of the basics, I had a dance friend that said this to me, and I was like, "Oh, you're so right." If you ever go to a concert with a light show, like EDM
Hmm.
concert and that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
the lighting tech people, there's only a few basic lights that are put up. It's like the strobes, the beams, the waves, and maybe something else. They have different colors,
Hmm.
but the beams will move at a different pace. But on certain songs, they can move at a slower pace, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like the strobes, and then the ones that do the waves that look kind of cool and stuff like that. But let's say there's only five types of lighting. But if you, so imagine that as like five different types of moves. But if you do a combo of them differently, or you change the pace of all these lights
Yeah.
for each of those songs at the EDM concert, each song will feel different, but you're just using the same five lights in
Hmm.
different orders and different speeds.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
with those five basic lights, you can story tell for that song. And same thing here, you can story tell in a dancing. And I remember when I took a class in like a
That's
private
good.
in, I know, right? I was like,
Yeah. That's like,
I
wow.
gotta
That's good.
bring this on the podcast. Thank you so much. It's that there was like when I took a private in Ecuador, I saw on their whiteboard it kind of looked like an up and down bell curve type of thing, up and down type of thing. Um, and the teacher, it was all in Spanish. So I was like, what's that? And the teacher was saying, like, this is how you create a dance, but make it feel different. So there's a certain part of the song where it's a peak. So you're going to move differently. So he danced with me. He's like, I'm doing the same moves on you, but I'm doing them at a different pace or a different order. Um, and that's why it feels different to you. It doesn't feel like the same salsa
Mm,
dance I'm doing all the time. So the salsa
yeah.
dancers that you feel like they're doing the same moves all the time is because they literally are like doing things at like one speed, or they're doing the
Yeah.
same five moves in the same
Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
Um, or like maybe in like let's say in fusion, you can take the same move, but you're traveling, or you're taking the same move
Hmm.
and you're moving in a circular way. So, but when he said that, it's storytelling. It's
Yeah.
storytelling, but through a dance, through a song. But he's like, you don't need to know that much. Obviously it's nice to have bigger vocab because
Hmm.
there's you can do so much with like different instruments and parts of the songs and whatnot. But I think that's the one thing, the main takeaway I got from it is that you don't have to know 10 million things. Let's say if you knew 10 things, that's enough. But knowing
Hmm.
how to work with those 10 things can
Yeah.
make if it make the dance feel different.
Hmm.
So yeah.
That's good. No, that's really
Yeah.
good.
The
Yeah.
light show on the concert though, it blew my mind. I was like, you're right. You're right. It's not, they don't have 10 million different lightings. It's always the same, like four, five, six things, but
Yeah.
it's programmed differently
Hmm. Hmm.
for every song. So
That's fire. That's fire. That's fire.
one thing I remember you were talking to someone at Red Rose Fusion and overhearing that, I was like, oh wow, this is so good to know, is when you said you guys actually wanted your follow to have input in the dance.
Oh,
And
yeah,
not,
yeah.
and I remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder why they said that. And that guy you were talking to was saying, so it doesn't feel like you're doing the same moves over and over again, and every dance isn't feel like a duplicate.
Hmm.
And I think, I guess in fusion, especially in fusion, I feel like as a follow,
Yeah.
I feel I'm allowed to do that, depending on the lead. There's some leads where I think I can feel where they're like, okay, I'm just going to lead you. This is my vision. We're doing
Yeah,
this. And
yeah.
I'm like,
Well, I
okay.
have a
And you
story
told me
about
that you
that.
have that. And then,
Yeah.
whereas there's some other people where they might signal and be like, there's some space for you if you want to take over and do something here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's different levels to it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's a story. I won't say the people's, but there's a friend of mine who he and another dancer who like they're both really good. They've been dancing for a long time. Like they have a lot of experience, you know what I'm saying? Like they're both very, very good. But for whatever reason, they just do not click. Like they just don't have that they in his own words, right? He like goes to her and asks her after. He's like, okay, I'm good, you're good, why do we keep missing each other? Like why are our dances so like just so bad? And she was like, for me, I need space. Like when I hear something, when I feel something in the music, I want to express that. When I have an idea, I want to get my idea across. And because of the way you dance, mind you, like he had asked for honest feedback and everything, so she's giving him honest feedback, and this is the only way that you can grow. Like if you're not honest with each other, you can't grow. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds like it might be harsh, but it's
Yeah.
like
It's like
she
be
super
tactful.
appreciated. Yeah,
Be
yeah, yeah.
tactful, but
You,
you can
you know,
tell you're
you're
like
like
you're
you're garbage, and that's why we have that. It's like no, like no, 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 no. It's like you're making it about the thing. But she was like, yeah, I need like space, and because you're thinking so far in advance, like you're thinking several moves ahead, you're going seamlessly from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, that it doesn't give me any space to add anything into the dance. And it was like for him, it was like a whoa, like oh, I didn't think about that. But like and it's kind of funny because like I have kind of the opposite issue where I have a hard time dancing with people who don't have a voice or don't want to say, you know what I mean? Like where they don't want any input. They essentially want to shut their brain off and they just want to like be thrown around. Those are the people I have the hardest time, unless it's a
really
song. Yeah, like for me, if it's like if I know the song in and out and I have a vision for it, that's where I'm like, okay, you're along for the ride. Come on, let's go. You know what I mean? But if it's outside of that, like those very specific, like those very, very specific limits, like I prefer a person who has more. For me, it's like, oh, because now we're playing off of each other. So long as it's like it's back and forth, it's not you're dancing and I'm just here. You know, like I have so much more fun. I have so like I love where it's like, oh, I have an idea, and then you have something and you add to it, and then I take it and then I add, and then because now we're just going back and forth. Now we're having a conversation. Now it's like I know what I want to hear in the song. I know what I want to do with it, but what do you want? That's where we get to have that like that real creative wow.
how do you know if there's a follower that wants to put their input? Do you test it out on them?
Yeah,
Versus
yeah,
like some people where you're like, oh, I can tell that follower does not want, they're just here to listen to what I have to lead.
yeah. You know what? I would say there's a difference. It's like having a conversation with someone where, like when you're talking with someone and as you're talking, you can tell they're just like not paying attention or like they're just not like they're not going to add anything. Like you're like you talk about something and they're just like, yeah,
Yeah, that's what you do to me all the time.
that's not true. That's so untrue. We literally have a podcast. What are you talking?
You put on a different face on the
This
podcast.
is this is propaganda. This is slander, and I will not stand for it. Will absolutely, absolutely not. So okay, so you know, it's like when you're like, even actually, you know what? That's a perfect example, right? Because like I said something and then you added something to it, right? Like you added your
Oh,
own
yeah, yep,
flavor
yep.
to it, right? Like it's the same thing. It's the same thing in a dance where you can do a basic turn, right? Basic outside turn. And maybe instead of doing it, in two counts, right? Like, one, two, and they come around, doing it in four. Do they just turn slower, or are they styling and adding something to it, right? Like, are they playing off of the music? Like you might hear something in the song, a lyric or something, right? Do they embody that lyric? Do they try to play with it? They might talk about like, like the song might be a sad song or a breakup song. They're talking about crying. Do you see them like, motion in that way or change something on their face or their body? And like the moment I see something like that, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have fun here. Like this is gonna be great, because I'm like, I wanna play with the dramatics. I want to do that
Right.
versus someone who like maybe they're just really stoic or they're just really like flat and they only do exactly what I asked and nothing else. That's where I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is going to be one of those. I got to do all the work. Sometimes I'm like, okay, that's cool. Other times I'm like, no, we're going to drag this out until you put some sauce in here. You got to come up with something. I'm not over dancing here. It's going to be real boring.
Has
All
that
right.
worked?
You got sometimes sometimes it has. Sometimes it has. Other times it's just like I'm like, hey, we're gonna have a real basic dance, and that's just like it's gonna be basic. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what I've done, right? Like there are some days I'm just like, you know what, we're gonna whatever you want out of the dance is what we're gonna get out of it. You just want to be thrown around for 3 minutes. We can do that. Other times I'm like, nope, you're gonna sit here and we're gonna figure this out because I need you to come up. It needs to be 50-50. Okay. We need to have a vibe. Okay. I'm not the only one crazy. Yeah, no. So yeah, I wish I could just be like, yeah, no, every time I'm professional. I'm not. I'm not professional. Sometimes I am, but sometimes not.
Just 30% of the
You
time.
know, so that's a little high. I don't know if I'd say that much.
I'm always the one wrangling you, being like, hey, you're late. No, I was kidding.
No,
No,
it's
no, not all the time. I feel like we should do an episode where it's like, okay, what is it like working with Caitlin? What's it like working with Trang?
it's absolutely stressful. I feel like train gives me zero time to like be late for anything. I have to like plan everything in advance. I have to like write out a script of what I'm going to say. Like there's no riffing. No, I'm just
Yeah, you know what, guys? If you guys want to know behind the scenes stuff, ask away. Ask us away. We'd love to answer that for you guys.
no, it's great. Trang is literally the best person I've ever worked with. It's
Oh,
like
thanks. You
having
too.
like an ideal practice partner, and someone who does their side of the homework. So you never have to worry about like if the homework is going to be done.
That's what it feels like. You don't
You're
have to
like,
worry
wow.
about. Yeah.
So then you can focus fully on your part and not have to stress because you're like, oh yeah, I know it's going to be there. Boom. It's
Mm.
trust.
Yes.
I keep trying to thumbs up and it keeps blurring my hand. So let me do that.
Uh, um, yeah,
And she asks great questions.
people tell me that. Like just even outside of dance, like you ask great questions.
Yeah, because you
I was
do.
that kid though that asked my parents like, but why? But why? But why?
They're like, here's a lollipop. Stop asking questions. Go.
They said just because when they said just because, that's when I knew I hit like their plateau of
You're like,
like
okay, we're
the
done.
wall being like, okay,
Yeah.
there's no answers being given to that. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna
Mm.
go play with my Barbies now alone.
You're like, all
No.
right, let me go find Google real quick. Answer
We
all these
didn't, there
questions.
wasn't Google back then as a kid. You forgot. There's no internet really. It's like 8 years old.
There's life. Whoa, there was life before Google. You're right. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. One of the really good advice you gave me once was whether it's a dance, like dancing with people, or being on the social dance floor, is really managing expectations and
Mm,
I love how you said it, letting your expectations rest a little bit. And this was in the
mm,
beginning of my journey. I think like maybe before we started podcasting, because I was like, I don't know why, like I've had good dances and then I can't have, I'm going through a phase where I'm like not having good dances anymore. And like, is it me? Is it whatever? And it was you being able to explain about that. Like, there's things you can't control. And this is not just dance. This is actually like Coach K and his life advice too, where you don't have control of a lot of things, the people you dance with, um, or how they dance, the DJ or the music that's going to be played by the DJ. That's like a you know so being open to things being different and not having expectations, of I'm going to have all these amazing dances this night because last week I did with at this event, you know um but maybe more so of like I'm going to find the best connection to this song with this person is a
mhm.
better way to look at it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy you remember that too. I was like, knowing you, you have notes somewhere where you're just like, this happened at this day at this time. Kaylin
It's
said
like,
this.
don't play with
Put the
Shank.
times, yeah.
She will find all these files on.
No, listen, she keeps receipts, y'all. That's another thing. Like she keeps receipts. So if you
Remember that
said
one
if you
time on December 18, that night when we danced, you said this to me. Most people are like,
yeah,
no. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, okay, never mind.
It's like, no, no, no. She'll clock it. She has documents and folders and they're
Now
alphabetized.
you're making me sound
Like,
scary.
no, 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 no. It's just she is thorough. Like
You know what's so
just
sad though is when you're like, remember this good moment we had, and people are like, no, and I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
oh, wait, wait, wait. Okay, actually, that's a thing. So, okay, so talking about like getting in the flow and having high level dances, that thing right there. Okay, so I think we talked about it in the last episode a little bit about like kind of having some negative experiences and kind of changing your self-talk.
Right.
So, a thing that I did actually, I cannot believe I forgot to mention this, but like, so there's dealing with the negative part, but then like multiplying the positive, dude. Okay, and this comes from it's a practice in like positive psychology and it's like reframing and it's really actually about gratitude, but you can make a mental highlight reel. This is actually something I learned as a coach when I was like coaching wrestling and like trying to help kids get to a different level. Is you hold on to those highlight moments that you have, like when you have moments where you were just like at your peak, where you feel like you just hit that level. Hold on to those, replay those moments intentionally. I'm not saying you get stuck in the past. What I'm saying is you replay those moments. What was happening? What were you doing? What did it feel like? Like get yourself accustomed to it because the brain is like it's like this massive like search engine, okay? And what you look for or what you're constantly thinking about, you start to look for it out in the world. No, and this is seriously, oh my gosh, I'm like hyped. Like you can see my whole energy shifted, right? When you start thinking about the things you did well and the things you did right in those dances and those moments, you start to look for them again and then you start to find them. Now, I'm not saying that you get caught up in like every dance needs to be this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you build a mental highlight reel. Okay. And when you have that, like I literally have a playlist. When I have dances, then I'm just like, oh, this was the best possible dance to this song. I have a playlist. It's called Best Dances. And I just put that playlist. I put like, oh, this song with this. And somebody actually gave me an idea of like also write down the person's name, like put the name, the day, all that kind of stuff, like little notes attached to it. And what it's helped me do, it's almost like it gives me a little bit of like a map or like breadcrumbs to follow to get back to that flow to where I feel like even if I've been out of dance for a little bit, I haven't gone to anything, I haven't done much. When I play that playlist and I think about those dances, I think about those moments, I'll play it sometimes the day or 2 days before an event or even the day of whatever an event or practice or whatever. And I feel like it's almost like that warm up period, like when you first get to a social and you got to warm up to get into it. It's like that warm up is like less. It's less and less. Where it used to take 7 dances to get to that flow, it might take two. Or sometimes I'll go in and I'm just like I'm already there, like I'm already in that flow. Really easy to do. Mental highlight reel. You take the positive experiences and you replay those. Think about like what were you doing? How did you make it happen? What happened? Was there a conversation beforehand? There might have been a conversation. You might have had a really good talk with somebody, and you're like, wow, that unlocked this new thing, and I've been thinking about dance differently ever since. Write it down. Like we already ruminate on the negative stuff. So why don't we replace the negative stuff with the positive stuff and start like getting that rooted in our mind. That for me, that has been, oh my gosh, that's been a game changer. That's changed so much. Yeah.
Thanks, Coach K.
Mhm.
No, but you know what? Yeah, that's like a kind of like a sensory psychology if you think about where, when you listen to certain songs, they remind you of this moment
Mhm.
you had in the past and how you were feeling. And
Yep.
sometimes you have to be careful because it becomes nostalgic and you're like, no, it's a longing and I wish for that again.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, that's not
Yeah,
what
it's
we
like
want
a
here.
the slippery
But
slope. It's like balance.
yeah, right. And for me, when I start questioning how I dance or like, oh man, I feel really off, I will have a few videos I've starred in my folder and I'll take a look at it as like a
Mhm.
reminder, be like, remember this dance? This is what you are capable of. This is what you did. This is how
Yeah,
you
that's
felt. And
good.
it's not even the upbeat songs that I've danced to. Those are fun. Those are fun.
That's
There's those,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
there's
yeah,
some
yeah.
that are just slow and you're like, it just was lovely, a lovely
Yeah.
dance, a
Yeah.
beautiful dance. And and then it just reminds me like, yeah, you know what? This like you might not hit that again anytime soon, but this was like you're okay. you're good.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
good. And you felt so happy afterwards, and this is kind of what dance does for you. This is what dance is for you.
Hmm.
So and that's
Yeah.
like a visual way of putting it, obviously. But and it's like you watch it over and over again at 2 a.m. in bed, and you're like, ah, yeah.
Yeah, that's real. The 2 a.m. in bed thing is, yeah, that's, oof. I'm
Yeah, you're
like,
like, ooh, I need to go to sleep.
I'm like,
Yes.
why would I ever want to? I'm like, I gotta stop watching this video. I'm gonna like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think what also helped me was, in previous episode we were talking about approaching things with curiosity. I remember there's a phenomenal follower. Like all the leads say she's great, great connection, knows how to adjust to things. Um, just amazing follower.
Mhm.
I think all the leads are like, we know who it is because she's great. And I remember thinking, wow, I want to be like her when I started because
Yeah, yeah.
I started Fusion because I was like, wow, she just amazing, just looks very clean and um her moves the way she does it, it's so effortless, right?
Hmm.
And also quite athletic too. And I remember thinking like I want to get to her level. I have no idea how I'm gonna get there because she seems like it would take a year to get there
Yeah, yeah.
you know and eventually with everyone's help on the dance floor and stuff like that, and approaching her and other leads being like, oh, you did this move on so and so, like, I'm just curious. I didn't even say I want to
Hmm.
do it because I didn't even know if I was capable of it,
Yeah, yeah.
athletically. And I was just like, how do you do it? And then they just say like, oh, you just do this. And I'm like, can I try? It's kind of like being a kid. You're like,
Yeah,
can
yeah,
I try? But
yeah.
please, I don't want to break a leg. Um, and I feel like once you get to that level, at least for me, I don't know about you, I want to hear your like once you get to a certain level where you're like, oh, I feel like I'm at a good place where I can follow well or lead well. Kind of like I would say a good place for like maybe technique or foundations and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
I feel like now I'm questioning my dance on like how do I want to bring out my creativity to it? Like
Mm.
it's not, I mean, I feel like yeah, like technique and connection is something on the side I'm always going to want to work on. That's like never ending. But then part of me is just now like, how do I infuse what I want into a dance? It's like a different
Mm.
side of dance for me.
Yeah, like the storytelling and creativity and like
Yeah, I feel
that,
like
like
if I
those
had to do
parts.
like dancing, it's like two categories. One is more like I won't say logistic side, but it's more like
Hmm. The nuts and
technique.
bolts, the foundation, the
Exactly.
technique. Yeah,
Exactly. And the other side is like, okay, how are we gonna add more?
yeah. That's the creativity, the storytelling, the like you have like the conceptual side and like the foundational side. Yeah,
The conceptual side. Yes, exactly.
yeah.
But I don't feel like I would even think about the conceptual side at all when I started dancing. Like that was something
Mm.
I wasn't even gonna touch because I was so focused on like
The
technique,
mechanics. Yeah.
mechanics, right? So
Mhm.
for you, do you feel the same?
It's funny actually because when I got into salsa and bachata, I feel like I learned the foundational side of it because and I feel like it came kind of natural to me because I also wrestled. So like I was wrestling, I was actually like still competing at the time. So I was like, oh, these are just moves. They make sense. Cool. Like I started seeing the parallels pretty quickly, and it wasn't really difficult to learn the what. But a lot of the time where I'd have those plateaus and I'd have those moments when I got a little bit into the why, it was like it was almost like flashes of like, ooh, there's something beyond just the what. Whereas like I learned a lot of moves, I learned a lot of stuff, and I got there and I was like, okay, cool, but like I don't care about that. And so getting into the why is I think that's where the shift happens. So now I feel like I'm very much a concept first person and a foundations like later, where I'm like now I feel like I need to know what the purpose is, what's the reason for, what's the emotion, what's the feeling, what's the all that stuff, and then the technique afterwards. I'm not saying that's that's right or that's the best way to go forward. That's just me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually it's funny too because I feel like learning different styles like we'll just say like I've been going to Kiz here and there, and I feel like that is a different kind of like there's a different feel to it, right? There's a different sort of um like it's very much like a walking dance, and like you need to be very present with the person that you're dancing with. It's not necessarily about knowing a lot. Not to say that that it's not technical and that it doesn't have those it doesn't have specific technique, but it's a lot more about being present with a person and being connected because the timing is different. The timing and the steps are different. It's not like, and we end up on the one, and we end up on it. No, like it's a lot of it is like a five count. Like a lot of it switches, and so you have to be locked in with the person you're dancing with. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. Versus maybe like Lindy, which for the most part you're gonna have that rock step, triple, triple, rock step. You know what I mean? You're gonna have that or that rock step triple, one, two, triple. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like it's just it's so each dance has like a different feel, and like for me, I need to understand what's the purpose, what's the concept, what's the reason, all that stuff, and that helps me remember or think about the moves and think about the foundational stuff, you know.
How do you deal with when you have an off day or when you feel like the other person is off? Like you can tell
Ooh.
they're having an off day too.
Yeah, well, I don't have off days, so I can't relate. I feel like the side eye is crazy. Wow. Yeah, no, I
I feel like you know
allegedly.
what? Your off day is when you like it's very obvious to me when you have an off day when you haven't had a lot of sleep.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's facts. That's fact.
Like
Yeah.
like you're like, hey, I'm here, I'm on 4 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep. I'm like, oh, okay. It's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
not
yeah,
bad
no,
at all.
true.
It's not like you're it's just I can tell your energy's low. It just doesn't have that extra like Kaylin spark.
Mm. Yeah, 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 no,
But
it's
I mean,
funny you said
if
that
for
because I
any
can
human
relate.
that's like sleep deprived, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, there's also those times I think where like emotionally you can be off too, or you're just tired
Mentally,
from
for
like
sure.
work or drained from the week or
Or you just
whatever.
have life is not going well for you. I think that's the
Yeah,
thing. We're all dealing with something, you know.
yeah,
We don't talk about it as much,
hmm
but this is kind of a
yeah.
bit off, but can you feel it in someone's energy sometimes?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. 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 For sure. For sure. Yeah. I feel like I'm really sensitive to that though. Like when somebody is off, I can, and you can tell sometimes people are like off and they don't care that you know there are some who are off, but they don't want you to know. And like, at one point, I feel like I was very much like, oh, if you're off, I'm gonna keep pressing until you tell me like what's going on. And now I feel like I'm a little bit more like if a person doesn't want to open up, I'm like, okay, like I'll respect it. I might hint maybe that I know, but I'm also just like, I'll let you have that. You know, if you don't want to get into it, that's totally fine. Boom. We'll just, we'll just rock it. But yeah, I try to leave my like whatever I'm dealing with, I try to leave it at the door. It's not the easiest thing to do, right? But I try to take off whatever I'm feeling. Like my coach used to say this for wrestling practice. He's like, like take whatever you're dealing with, whatever projects or class or life or drama or whatever, to like put it in a backpack, put it in a backpack, and leave it at the door. And be here like you don't have any care in the world. Like this is a space for you to really to feel free and also to cry because we're gonna do a lot of stuff like push-ups and those like duck walks, you know what I'm talking about? The real like where your just quads are just on fire and then
Yep.
you have to have a put a person on your back while you're doing this. Like, yeah, this is awful. So it's like you take off all your emotional baggage at the door and then you just put a human on your back and you just go. No, but I think like at dances and stuff, like, it's a pretty honestly, it's a pretty fantastic hobby to be in, It's a really cool thing to be part of. And just having those moments where you can take a break from all of the whatever you're dealing with. I feel like it's just
You
like,
mean
oh man, it's
reality?
such a
Take a break
gift.
from reality?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm like, that's why I was like, look, I feel like the next 4 years, the next three and a half years, whoo, it's gonna be so good for dancing. Oh my goodness. Like it's so good for reasons I won't get into, but we know. Um, yeah. But what about you? Do you feel like you're able to kind of take off, like if you just got a stressful week, you're able to kind of take it off and leave it at the door, or do you kind of carry it like into dances and use it as like fuel? Like what's going on there?
The tears pour out now. We don't cry
It's
here.
serious.
Just kidding. No, me and Kaylin, we're robots,
It's true.
mechanical dancing robots that don't
It's
cry.
true.
No, I mean, dance was actually my happy place. So I think my brain is trained to be like, we're gonna go dancing, and that's gonna be a good thing, and it's always gonna be a
Mhm.
good thing. Um, because I haven't danced. I've only danced like I'm just hitting my 1 year mark, for partner
Mhm.
dancing.
Yeah.
And I remember before, it's weird being like, what was my life like before dance? And you're like, it was hard, it was sad, but it was also like there
You're like,
wasn't
it
something.
wasn't living.
Yeah, there. I think there's a lot of sad people in the world because life is not hard, right? But I think the hard part is when they don't have anything in their life that brings them joy.
Mm.
And so it's easy to ruminate. It's easy to be in that like dark space and everything. And that's why I, I- like for me, I love travel and I love dancing now. But before I only had travel, but that was something I didn't do often because, money. Um But then I remember like, with dance, it was like, oh wow, these gray clouds lifted. Like I didn't know these gray clouds can be lifted because you're
Mm,
inserting something that's so joyful in your life to kind of take over and kind of consume you and be like, yay, this is great. Also, it was like the honeymoon phase of like, I discovered dance, this is amazing. Oh my gosh. Dance was honestly the thing that brought joy to my life. And so I think I associate with okay, this is a let's say a cure, but when I'm feeling down,
like
this
a
is my
balm.
coping mechanism. Like this
Yeah.
is a
Okay.
good, there's meditation, there's journaling, and that's fine. But then you need maybe like movement. And I don't like
Hmm.
hiking. I'm lazy, so I don't really like work out and stuff like that. So it's nice to have something where you're like, I'm working out, but it doesn't
Mm,
feel like I'm working out. I also can be
yeah.
creative if I want to. And that's where the dance floor was I wouldn't say escapism, maybe for 4 hours,
A
but
little bit. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. And
A
so
little
I
bit.
think I associate for me dancing as like a thing. It was really actually hard when I came back from my South America trip because there's a thing called post-travel depression. It's a very real thing, or post-travel blues, because your mind has been so stimulated by all these amazing things, and you come back
Hmm.
to nothing, the same thing again. I remember even thinking it was like, I remember being like, I don't think I even told you this, but I was like, I don't even know if I want to go to Fusion. Like I don't know if I'm
Mm,
feeling it right now.
yeah.
And yeah, it's so weird because that's when like trying's not going out to dancing, that
Mhm.
when the thing that brings you joy, you don't want to do anymore. But and then but I knew this was a normal thing. I knew it lasts for like a month after you do like an epic trip, even more for some people. Because I've done this before. I've traveled many big trips before. So I was like,
Yeah.
I came home being like, okay, I'm gonna fall into a depression. It's just gonna, But then on the dance floor, I think seeing people, especially familiar faces, I remember being like, oh my gosh, hello you again. I haven't seen you in a long time. Um, really helped me uh, kind of get out of that funk,
Yeah.
you
Like
know?
realign and everything.
Yeah, just be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, remember this? Remember this good thing? But I think that also that also reminds me of like if you're surrounded by the right people and good people, because you can go to dance social, but if it's a place that made you feel crappy,
Yeah.
then you're like, why am I here again?
Yeah.
But if it's a place where you're like, oh, I remember these are people that have great hearts and they're just amazing people, you're like, oh yeah, I remember why I do this, and like easing myself back in. So it was
Mm,
more so of like just depression from external factors, and then and yeah, but I think my brain is trained or so used to seeing dance as like um a coping mechanism, like a healthy self-care thing that I do,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know instead. So I think that's that. I think it takes like maybe 30 minutes for me to warm up, get into a couple dances, start sweating and being like, get those endorphins coming up. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm in a good place now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that. It's funny you mentioned the like not working out thing because I was like I gym pretty often,
Yeah, I know. We
but
see it in your Instagram stories. You look like one of those like gym influencer people, like, hey guys, look, I'm doing these pistol squats and I'm doing these things with those kettle dumbbells or whatever. Look at me. Brr. I'm the Hulk.
okay. First of all, I'd be like Spider-Man or Black Panther. Okay, because that's closer to my build. All right, let's clarify that first. All right. Second, kettlebells. Okay, look. So I gym, but I do because I feel like number one, I'm just better. Like I'm better focused. I feel like I just like it's a grounding thing or like a reset for me where I feel like I can kind of like I'm back in touch with my body. I'm back into because most of the time I'm doing like writing or like some kind of stuff behind a laptop, right? And that can be really like you can kind of get out of yourself and kind of in your head, you know? And I feel like when I can do that, like when I can work out, get that sweat going, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm back in my body, like I'm here, I'm like present with myself. But I feel like dance is amazing because I can do that, but I'm also present with other people where I feel like it's like, oh, I can reconnect. Like I feel like I'm connected with humanity, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Sometimes it's like we forget, like, because, when you're going through stuff, it's easy to want to withdraw and
Yes.
isolate yourself. And you're like, that you need to go get some sunshine. You
Hmm.
should like drink enough water,
Yep.
meditate,
Yep.
journal,
Yes.
meet up with humans.
Hmm.
But it's so hard when you just are in a funk or in a not
Yeah.
place and you're like, I know that's good for me, but I don't want to do it. I can't even
Hmm.
get out of bed.
Yeah.
We've all been there. This is one of those things where I'm like, it just it's really hard, but it's nice when you have, I think with dance, it's like, hey, are you coming? Having that a
Yeah,
little like
yeah.
sort of accountability, but not accountability, but more of
Mhm.
like someone to like nudge you,
Yeah.
or even when people are like, we miss you, I'm like, oh, it feels nice being missed. You're just like, I didn't
Yeah.
realize my presence mattered. Like of
Yes.
course it does, but you're reminded.
Mhm.
Um, and and kind of yeah, so it's
Like
kind of like a nudge to be like, you should come on, peer pressure, but in a good way. Just come.
yeah.
And then it kind of, you're like, right, okay. And it kind of gets you, even if after dancing you still are in a funk, but the funk is a little lighter.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 No,
And
that
then back to reality.
yeah. But you know what? I think it's good because it's it's like there's different ways to cope, right? Like there's like problem or solution oriented coping, right? But there's also like emotional I forget the exact term for it, but it's like emotionally oriented coping, right? Where like you can't do something about the situation, but you can do something about what you're feeling in that moment, you know? And there are definitely negative ways to cope. Like there are pretty awful ways to deal with stress that are sometimes easy and accessible, and having something like dance in your back pocket where like you're going in somewhere, you're dancing for a couple hours,
It's a
you're
tool.
getting a sweat. Yeah, it's like and it's like you can come away with it. I'm not saying you just go and deal with all your problems at dance. Like, yeah, no, therapy is good, right? But like there are some days you just need to move and you just need to go. And maybe the situation is just as bad as it was when you got in, but you feel different, like what you were saying, where it's like like the clouds are lifted, or they're a little bit less dense. There's a
I think
little
it's
more
also,
sunshine coming through.
yeah, it's like when you're in a really deep and dark place, at least what dance or whatever type of self-care you have for yourself and connection with humans, like it at least can help you get back to maybe a neutral state. I think sometimes people are
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I'm hoping self-care will get me to this happy, joyful state." It's like if you're really down, just getting to that neutral state is a win. And
yeah,
then it
yeah.
might take time later on to actually have you pass that neutral state and maybe in a more like a happy state or
Yeah.
fulfilled state or whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it, whatever works for you. Yeah. Yeah. What a journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's what's great about dance and the community. If it is a good community, that's the
Hmm.
key. If it's not a good community, it's gonna make your symptoms or whatever worse. That's
That's
where the people
nice.
matters. That like,
Yeah.
yeah, the people do matter.
Mhm. And you know what? It
Yeah.
makes me also think like it's really important because you don't know where people are and what they're dealing with when they come in. And I think that like feedback is good. Feedback is a really good thing, and you want to give people feedback, but you also want to give people encouragement. And like I think it's like two sides. There's two sides to that, right? Like if you're willing to give feedback, but you're not willing to give encouragement, that's imbalance. And then like if you're just giving people positive, but you're not also like giving people constructive, you're giving them one thing, but you're not giving them like the foundational, the bricks to improve their structure, bricks or concrete or glass or whatever material. Wood. I don't know. We're playing Settlers of Catan now, I guess. But like yeah, no, like there has I think that there should be like a balance between those two things.
Yeah, I think I wish there was like a secret wristband that people can wear, be like, I'm open to feedback. Because sometimes you
Oh
don't
yeah.
know, like we can assume everyone wants to learn to try to become a better dancer, but are people
Yeah.
receptive to
Hmm.
constructive feedback? And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Hmm.
And not gonna lie, I'm gonna plug in here. That's why we started Fusion University, and that's we're gonna be providing practicas as a
Yeah.
place for people to do that.
Hmm.
And I think it's funny because it's mental. Like you can, when people come into a room and it's a
Hmm.
practica, people are like, okay, this is a room, an event where we are giving feedback and we're
Hmm.
giving other people tips as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of like a mental shift, like giving people space in an event, an opportunity to have that mental shift and feel it's
Hmm.
okay and it's not an attack. This is a place where we are feeling
Yeah.
self-growth, like
Hmm.
we want self-growth for each other
Yeah.
and for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I'll also add this too, because like when it comes to things about dance and about like, positive versus negative feedback or whatever, that's one thing. That's a separate thing, right? And there should be a designated space for that. Practicas are perfect. But when it comes to like safety issues or things like that, because something just came to mind, right? It's like if someone doesn't feel like they are, I'll say if you don't feel like you're safe or you're okay or whatever, you should always like find the people who are the like who put this event on. Is there security, right? Because in some places there's security, there's bouncers, whatever. Like if you don't feel comfortable enough talking to the person, like the offender, which if I always advocate, hey, go directly to that person if it happens in the moment, if it's big enough, like if it's something where you feel like, oh, this is really intentional, like if someone's doing something that like crosses your boundaries, you stop that right then and there. Like, don't be afraid to embarrass somebody if they're crossing your boundaries intentionally. Like, if it's intentional, nah, deal with that right then and there. And if they want to act like, oh, it's not a big deal, go to security. No one is entitled to you or your body or any of that kind of stuff. Whether you're a lead or a follower, it goes both ways. Because I've had some situations. We ain't gonna talk about that right now. But it's like, nah, like no, like don't play that at all. And like I had somebody not too long ago come to me and ask me my take on something. And I really appreciated it because I was like, wow, I felt like, that person trusted me enough to kind of tell me that they weren't feeling comfortable, that they weren't feeling safe. And my advice was like, hey, if you feel like this person is being an unsafe lead, I would talk to them about it. This is why what you're doing is making me feel uncomfortable. Like if it's a technique issue or thing like that, like I don't understand. Maybe you can help me understand this. Or when you do this, like it actually really hurts my shoulder or my whatever it is. But if it's like another issue where they are making you feel uncomfortable, making you feel unsafe, dead that. We don't even play those games. Like don't even like, nah, I'm gonna talk to so and so, like who's the designated safety person in that space. And if they don't have a designated safety person, I'm less inclined to show up there. You're just not going to see me there because, like, the reality is, if they don't prioritize your safety and they're only looking at you for your dollars, I'm taking a step back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think as a
Mhm.
female, because I'm only 5'2". Um, I can totally understand the perspective of like, let's say you have an unsafe lead. How do you give feedback or tell them
Mhm.
without
Yeah,
fear of retaliation, right?
yeah,
So, and sometimes with event organizers, especially if you're kind of new to the dance scene, I don't feel comfortable. Well, I guess the older past trying doesn't fit doesn't feel comfortable going to the event organizer. Sometimes you don't even know
yeah.
the event organizer who it is, especially if it's a big event, because
Mm,
they're not usually the ones at the door. They're usually the ones running
true.
around taking
Yeah.
care of things, right? And the people at the front desk, you're like, are they even going to listen? Or they most of the time they're
Mhm.
volunteers. So you're like, are they even part of staff? Are they going to relay the message? Are they going to be able to do something about this lead?
Mhm.
Probably not. So it kind of sometimes feels powerless sometimes,
Mhm.
right? And that's where, and looking back now, I'm like, I not sure why, but I feel comfortable speaking up about this to a female. I think it's just because I feel like a female understands where I'm coming from and how I feel and how it can
Yeah.
be uncomfortable
Yeah.
to feel as a female in a space. Like it's like you're a guy, you can help, but you don't get it.
Mhm.
And but I mean, I would tell you because you're my friend, and I know you would like
Mhm.
do what you can do, but it's I can see where women are coming from. And that's where I would also say, like, if there's a female, like, let's say I don't feel comfortable going to the event organizer because they're male and I don't know if they'll listen to me. I don't even know them.
Yeah.
And maybe I have a dance friend that took me to that place and they've been there more. I would feel more comfortable being like, "Gee, I don't feel comfortable saying this." And maybe that friend could be like, okay, well, I'm going to tell someone about it, keep you
Yeah.
anonymous.
Yeah.
It's just like, you don't have to say the names. You just be like,
Mhm.
hey, so most likely if it's making you feel uncomfortable, they've done it to a couple other people. It's never a one-time
Yeah.
incident.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Facts.
and the thing is sometimes they don't know. They're like, oh, I didn't realize that, I was coming off kind of awkward and creepy to some people. Like sometimes people are socially awkward.
Mhm.
And I think that's the big reveal of how their attitude on taking back that feedback. If they don't take it well, they can't remove their ego out of it. That's where it will become a bigger issue down the line. But if they're like, I'm so like apologetic about it and just kind of like, oh, please let me know I can do better because I don't want to ruin the
Mhm.
dance scene, then you can tell there's with their character, it's different there.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's more concerning than someone that's like, "Hey, it kind of hurt the way you dance with me." And that's more of
Yeah.
like a technique thing, I think, and like
Mhm.
connection thing. That one
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fixable. That's more of mechanics. We can fix the mechanics, right? But
Mhm.
in terms of making people feel unsafe or like every dance
Mhm.
scene, you and I have heard enough stories to be like, okay, there's this one or two people. It's usually just a few that
Yeah. Yeah.
where
Yeah.
people don't feel safe. Like, and there's been multiple stories. It's not like a one-time off story. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
one off, then you're like, "Oh, that might have been a mistake." Let's
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
let's hear what they have to
Mhm.
say and
And
what but for
sometimes it's also like there's people who they might dance a different style and like the styles can kind of clash a little bit. Like one person comes from maybe like blues or bachata, and then another one, comes from I don't know, like I don't say swing or like something. It's just not knowing, oh, this is normal here and this is not. And it's just people missing each other. Like that's one
Right.
thing, right?
Yeah. I think another thing,
Mhm.
the reason why especially if I'm new to a dance scene, that I feel hesitant to tell someone about something is I'm afraid they might look at me, be like, oh, well, she's new, so she doesn't know how we run it here, or she doesn't
Mm,
know, I'll make this up. Oh, well, she's new to Lindy Hop, so of course she's like this person's great, and so I feel like they might not, because this happens to women a lot, where can and men too, where like they don't believe your story.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so you want, and if you're not a person that they know in the dance scene, like, hey, Trang, like, you just wonder if it's even worth it.
Yeah.
Or so you just like kind of keep quiet and you're like, I'm just not gonna come anymore. Or I'm gonna try to avoid that person, but they're in the same dance floor as you. And so it just feels very uncomfortable. And that is why at Fusion University, I just gotta plug ourselves in. We've had enough stories
Yeah.
we've dealt with where we're like, we don't want that. We're gonna address it. Or if we will have people that we want, like you can go to let us know if you don't feel comfortable. We hope you feel comfortable approaching us, but
Yeah.
being like, hey, so this happened to me, and we're not obviously gonna air it out. We're gonna like make sure address it. The thing is, the thing that frustrates me in places that don't address it right away you know, because they kind of wait for it, or maybe there's politics involved. I'm like, no, we don't
Mhm.
need this in our dance scene. Like, you can be an amazing dancer, but if you're a douchebag or you're mean or you make people feel comfortable, we
Mhm.
don't need you and we don't want you.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Like
We
if
don't,
you're
we
a
don't, we don't want your
bully
money.
or
We don't want your
whatever,
money.
yeah,
We don't want your money.
straight up.
And that's where I think building, especially for FU, I'm like, maybe we should stop saying FU. It's like Fusion University, really being intentional with creating that culture. We're not always going to be perfect, but we're definitely very intentional with it
Yeah.
because it's the space where we want to feel safe. We want other people to feel safe, have lots of fun, but also learn dancing
Yeah.
technique and stuff like that, and be able to. It's kind of like like having a dance company scene, whatever you want to call it, that we wish we could have, and we're like, why not
Yeah.
create it ourselves? People have been wanting it, they've been hinting at it, and we're going to provide that. So, anyways, and the
Mhm.
safety is what like is one of those things. Not feel is feeling okay in a space where you don't have to like, oh no, that person's here. I
Yeah.
need to move to this corner, the other side of the room.
Mhm.
Oh, we don't. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. No, we don't
Yeah,
we don't need that. We don't need that. And it's like there's a difference between like, oh, me and this person don't get along and like, oh, this person is not safe. Like
right.
like because sometimes there's like little drama or whatever, like, oh, she doesn't like my socks, so I don't want to dance with her. But it's
Oh,
like whatever,
yeah.
what I
Or
mean?
I
Just
guess, like,
like
maybe sometimes
goofy
it's different
stuff,
with
right?
dancing.
But
I think sometimes
mhm.
it's different with dancing because, like, maybe some people don't like certain people's styles of dancing, or maybe you
Yeah.
dance, but off the dance floor, it's like we just personality-wise, we don't vibe
Hmm.
well. They're so
Hmm.
different. Like I like this and they like that, and or when we talk, it's so awkward because we just don't have the same awkward conversation. It's just awkward. It's just
Yeah.
awkward. We just
Yup.
don't vibe
Yup.
talking, and that's fine. You know. But I think if people start like mean, if they're mean, if they have such an ego, or they just make people feel unsafe, it's like, bye, Felicia. Actually, how would you say about resolving conflict in the dance community or between people without it escalating? Because I think
Mm,
that's a very real thing where people are like, okay, I want to address this issue going on,
mhm.
but I don't want retaliation for this person, or I don't want them
Yeah.
to come back
Yeah.
to my event and make it difficult for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's why some people don't want to um, address the issue, because they think it's going to be a big confrontational thing,
Yeah.
and you don't want to lose everything you built up.
Hmm. I think that's where having like a policy and things like that is super important. Like having a policy, having standards, having a safety team, like all those things keep everything super clear. Like it keeps the rules very clear, it keeps the standard very clear, and it also is accountability. So like if there is an issue or an infraction or something like that, like if a person is violating those rules or and they have, it's one thing if you don't know, right? Like it's one thing if you don't know and you're made aware. It's another thing to be made aware and then to like violate it, like or like to continue to do that. That's where it's like, oh, it's not an emotional decision. It's not like I might rock with you as a person, right? But it's like if we have a standard or we have rules or we have things established and you violate that, well then this is what the rules are. You don't get special treatment because you were at my son's birthday party or whatever. Like it's like, hey, no, like you violated these rules. You're going to make it bad for everyone else, you know? Because it's like if everyone else is following this, but you're not, why do you get special privileges? It's just like no, that's not fair. That's not justice.
Right. It's like, hey, it's like employee manual. Sorry, we have to fire
Yeah,
you because you broke technicality on the rules in the rule book, you
yeah,
know?
And there was like one situation, there was like a work situation a couple years ago. I won't name names and I won't be super specific, but I'll just say that this person took a cart and they took a cart because there was like it was a serious situation, right? There was like a kid who was like having a health emergency, and he needed to get from where we were to like the what do you call it, like the nurse's office or whatever. Like he like it was a need. It wasn't like a want, but part of the policy was like you couldn't transport children in the thing and all that kind of stuff, right? And he like broke like two rules. What he did was objectively the right thing, and I think they should have made an exception for him. I was like, I was advocating on his behalf, but like he was fired because he did something that was against the rules, and they had a standard of like, if you violate these rules, like we have to follow through, And it like it's one of those things where it's like I would have made that exact same decision had I been in his shoes. I would have done it, and I do it every single time, no regrets. But also, if there's a standard there, like you got to follow a standard. Like this is what the rules are. So like when it comes to dealing with conflict and stuff like that, if there's a rule, follow the rule. If there's not a rule established and you're just being a turd, it's like stop being a turd. Get out. Like stop it. Knock it off. Like I don't know. That's like my 2 cents on it. It's just if you have rules, follow the rules. If you don't have rules, then okay, make some rules, get some stuff established. Because then it gets really muddy when you don't have any kind of standard at all. It's like, well, why are you barring
Yeah.
this person or that person?
It's having expectations that everyone's on the same page. And
Yeah,
this is the culture or the policy
yeah.
that we expect from you and that everyone expects from each other here.
hmm
So
hmm
yeah,
And
wow. This episode
also,
kind of went all over the place, but
yeah.
in a good way. I loved it.
Yeah, just last little thing I'll add to is like I think you should deal. I think you said this earlier about like dealing with stuff in the moment and like not waiting around because like I think if you let it fester, it will only get worse. And like I think a lot of people kind of have an attitude of like, oh, they don't want to talk about it, don't want to shake things up, don't want to make it a big deal. But like if you don't deal with it, it's not just gonna go away. It's still go,
Avoidance.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's
No,
gonna so
festering. I
you
like
might as
that
well
word.
just deal with it.
Festering
Like
is festering brewing. Yeah.
yeah, don't let it ferment. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know
Don't do
what it,
that.
yeah, it's like a fart and a cough. Look, if you hold that fart in, gonna hurt.
Yo,
If
facts
you
though.
suppress that cough, you know it's gonna get worse. And you just
Hmm
have to like then you have a coughing spell and everyone's like, "Are you okay? Are you dying?" You're like, "Yes, but
hmm
I can't do anything about it." That's what it is.
And they
So
all take like 6 feet around you, so there's like a perfect circle. Just-
yeah, I mean, it's hard because sometimes it is processing emotions and you just
hmm
don't know how long it's gonna take or you're trying to figure out
Yeah,
what you're feeling. Now
true.
we're starting not talking about the answers of life. But again, it's I think it's just being able to give permission for people to speak up and normalizing this. Be
hmm
like, hey, and that's what we're hoping to achieve at Fusion University. So,
Yeah.
oh, and if you have any questions for us, we'd love to answer them for you and publish it on our next podcast episode, whether it's feeling unsafe or how to handle certain situations on the dance floor, our hot takes on certain things, and more.
And if you have any ideas, any thoughts you want to throw our way, suggestions, comments, concerns, please also harass us with those.
Yeah. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, please share with a friend, share the news about Fusion University being opened. Give us a 5-star and follow on Apple and Spotify. Check us out on social media at Fusion Dance Podcast and also check out our dance school at
Woo,
Fusion
woo, woo.
University.
Bow, bow,
Yeah.
bow.
And we include, again, a list of all the places go social dancing in LA down below in the show notes. If you want to learn more about our upcoming classes, privates, practicas, social events that we'll be throwing, then make sure to sign up for our email newsletter down below. Thank you so much for being here. We are so excited, and we will see you next time.